Having once been one of, if not the most annoying brawler in the game, it seems Mico has had kind of a fall from grace. But why? Well, in this video we'll take a look at Mico, his nuances, and then address how exactly Mico turned from one of the scariest assassins into, well, something almost completely different. If you want a fun place to talk about Brawl Stars, join our Discord server, link will be in the description. Also, make sure to subscribe to keep up with the PowerPoint. And finally, if you want to help support the channel, become a member. You also get to choose new PowerPoint brawlers and help me out, as my members chose Ruffs, GG, Mico, and a lot of the recent PowerPoints. Also, if you like the music in the video, it's all made by me, so check out my music channel out if you're curious for more. Let's start out with the basics. Mico has a solid health of 7000 with a very fast movement speed of 820. His main attack sees him jump up to 4 tiles, dealing 2280 damage in a 1.5 tile radius, but has a very slow reload speed at 2.4 seconds. Mico's super sees him stand still for 1 second and then jump to the sky for 6 seconds, dealing 2380 damage and knocking back enemies where he lands. He's also able to heal and reload while in the sky, while also being completely immune to all attacks. With the basics out of the way, let's get to talking a bit more in depth about Mico. He's not exactly your stereotypical assassin, yet, in a way, he's the perfect assassin. He's all about patience and waiting for the right moment. Often when playing him, you're likely to experience long bouts of absolutely nothing, simply waiting for the right moment. And then you'll have bursts of absolute chaos, attacking the enemy and praying they don't kill you. In other words, basically the perfect assassin behavior. Where he differs is with his main attack, and his super. First of all, his main attack. Mico moves with his main attack, which is something that, on his release, only Mortis could do, and he couldn't jump like Mico. However, the existence of this mechanic is a double-edged sword. Why? Well, let's start out with the positives. It allows for a much easier way to get to and away from enemies, overall increasing mobility by a large amount. Furthermore, it makes dodging much easier, as using your main attack allows you to dodge enemy attacks. However, on the other hand, it makes every ammo worth much more. Unlike someone like Leon, whose attacks you can spam, each attack with Mico has to be calculated, as it's not only your main damage tool, but your main mobility tool as well. Combine this with his atrocious reload speed, and you can see why playing Mico well requires high IQ levels. When it comes to a super, it's not much better. The main problem with it is the whole second of waiting for the super to actually trigger. In Brawl Stars, 1 second of not moving is an insanely long amount of time, and so often you'll see Micos dying because they supered at the wrong time. The super itself isn't horrible, as it allows him much more better mobility, but it's not exactly worth the trade-off of 1 second of not moving. With all of this in consideration, let's take a look at how exactly Mico fell from grace. On release, he was pretty powerful, mainly due to the uniqueness he had. He was the very first brawler to have a jumping main attack. Because of this, people didn't know how to play against them, and it was very difficult to figure out how to actually time your shots properly against him. Obviously, this wouldn't last forever, and slowly over time, people got to know how to actually time their shots against him, shooting right after he lands. However, this isn't the only reason he began to fall off. Another reason is the whole problem with his hypercharge. Mico's hypercharge sees him stun enemies hit by impact damage for 1.5 seconds. However, the problem comes from the fact that using it before your super will waste it, as the duration will be almost over by the time you can actually attack. Furthermore, the stun is really only good enough for one more extra shot due to his awful reload speed. Compare this with his opposition's hypercharges. Mortis's hypercharge allows him to potentially destroy entire teams, and so does Kenji's. Ali's, meanwhile, deals a lot of extra damage while also healing. Basically, every other assassin has a better hypercharge than Mico, so yeah, this was another big reason for his power creep. Furthermore, other brawlers just started to encroach on his territory. Kenji, Kaze, and Ali were all released after him and were able to move with their main attack, with Ali being able to jump with their main attack as well in bushes. Sure, Mico was still unique in his ability to universally jump, but he didn't have the same utility these other brawlers had, like the reload and health of Kenji, the dual forms of Kaze, and the increased movement against weak brawlers Ali has. Overall, why choose Mico when all of these brawlers could do exactly what he did, and more? Mico also suffered from the fact that he's a great example of an assassin, or in other words, he's mostly good just for hunting us down a single brawler. Once upon a time, that was good enough to thrive in the assassin ecosystem. Now? No. Most brawlers in the assassin class are capable and even good at team wiping, or at least taking down multiple brawlers without having to worry about retreating. Mico, on the other hand, only has a super, but the problem comes from his reload speed. With a reload speed that awful, it's physically impossible for him to spam his main attack. Furthermore, with how his super works, he can't spam it either. Overall, he requires too much brain power and patience to actually be good. It's a sad state of the game that we're in. Finally, he's simply too weak for the current meta. Mico's biggest counters are brawlers who have high health or high damage. This is a very tanky and aggro meta currently, so you can guess how well Mico's doing. Furthermore, with the introduction of buffies, damage inflation, and power creep is going even further, which is exactly the opposite of what is needed for Mico, who hasn't received a single balance change since July of last year. Overall, there's no surprise as to why Mico is doing so bad currently. He's been cooked by a multitude of factors and the overall game state and meta. However, he somehow managed to carve a bit of a niche for himself in Heist, which absolutely no one saw coming. This is because of his record smash star power, which allows him to deal 100% extra damage against non-brawlers. And since the Heist save isn't a brawler, you can see where this is going. Now let's talk about the rest of Mico's unlockables. Mico's clipping scream gadget sees him launch a 3-tile long range projectile with a slight spread, dealing 25% of his attack damage, while also slowing down enemies for 2 seconds on hit. This is a very good star power for Mico, allowing him to stop enemies from getting away, which can be very important for him, especially considering his trash reload speed. Presto sees Mico's next jump have 1.33 tile longer range. There's nothing much to say about this star power. It's nothing great, as the range increase it offers just isn't as good as his other gadget. However, it does have a niche use in Heist, where the most important thing is to get to the other safe as fast as possible. Finally, let's talk about monkey business. Every 5 seconds, Mico's basic attack steals ammo from his enemies after hitting them. This is basically a requirement for Mico in every non-Heist game. Giving extra ammo to Mico is way too good for him, as ammo is usually his limiting factor in every fight. This also gives him a bit more strategy, as you can time when you decide to attack enemies to when you have the ammo steal enabled, allowing for an extra attack. Overall, Mico is an interesting case. His main meta relevance came mostly because people didn't really know how to face off against him. However, due to a variety of factors, he got absolutely fried in the meta, to the point where he's one of the worst brawlers in the game, only being good in Heist, which is a real shame, considering he's one of the most perfect assassins in the game. But as always, thanks for watching. Watch this video, or this playlist, or check out my second channel, or join the Discord server.